Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. We are the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. With me tonight, as always, is my good friend Drew Crawley. Drew, how are you, buddy?
Howdy. I'm doing good, sir. Yourself?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. I got
Good.
to see you play Friday night
Yes.
with some good friends, so that was a lot of
Yep. It
fun.
was a lovely time, and yeah, it's good.
Kind of a
Always good to see Chase and Grace and Jason out and about. So,
yeah, kind of a low stress vibe to the evening.
yep.
Very low key, but it was all very good. So that's always fun. And we'll maybe touch a little bit more on what you got coming up music
Sure.
wise. And but today we've got a real treat. Cristina Vane. If you do not know Cristina Vane, now you do. So we're going to get into some great conversation with her about her background, her music, which is absolutely fantastic. Big
Thank you.
fan. And we'll get to that in just 1 minute. But before we do that, we want to tell you about Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends that create content for the bourbon and the boobin. The boobin is, okay, maybe I need to reboot myself. Before the show, I had some real computer problems, and again, thank you, Christina, and Drew for waiting. But now apparently bourbon is boobin. So let's try this again. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who make content for the bourbon enthusiast. We have Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. They talk with distillers from across the country, around the world, about everything in distilling. If you're more interested in, if you're wanting to learn more about what is in that bottle and how it got there, this is the show for you. Alan also does a show called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. That doesn't come out any set schedule, but if you're into distilling, either at home or in your job, you got a question, email Alan. He'll put out a YouTube answer to it. Always very interesting stuff. Why Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike. That show is on every Monday night live at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 8 o'clock Central. They have some wonderful guests. Always a lot of fun with the folks in the chat. My Whiskey Den, where craft whiskey is king. And now our show, we have one more announcement.
All right. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification to find out when new episodes come out, which is every Wednesdays on all of your streaming services everywhere. Apple, Spotify, whatever other ones there are, and the YouTube where you can watch the live recording itself.
Thanks, Mike. We always appreciate your help. And enough of our nonsense. Let's get right into our conversation with Cristina Vane. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Well, ever since I first heard your album, this is the one I got in with you. Make Myself Me Again. I thought we've got to find a way to get Cristina on the show because her music is just incredible. But before we get into a deep dive into the music side of things, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Well, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I was born in Italy and grew up mostly in France and Italy and England. And then I came to the States when I was 18. So I'm half American, and I've lived here ever since I moved back, or here, I guess, from Europe. But yeah, I've been in Nashville for about 5 years. I play slide guitar and banjo and sing and write music, and that's kind of it, really.
That's quite a lot.
So, in honor of the Italian side of the Italian American, we're doing something a little different tonight. We're drinking limoncello, and this is the Al Tramonto limoncello. I'll be the first to admit I don't know a lot about limoncello other than it's really tasty. So both Cristina and Drew have some limoncello that we can sip on while we continue our conversation with Cristina.
I'm drinking out of a bottle cap, so things are going well over here.
Outstanding.
You can drink straight from the bottle. We won't judge.
Wouldn't be the first time that's happened on the show, that's for sure.
Will not be the last either. So,
Hmm.
so is limoncello something as an Italian American that you're familiar with, or is that something that?
Yeah, I
is
like
new?
limoncello. I've had my grandma used to have it in the house. My dad also. I enjoy it. Like a good limoncello on a hot summer's day
Yeah,
hits the spot.
I made up a little cocktail before my computer messed up. I made up a little cocktail of gin and limoncello and just a touch of ginger ale on the top of it over ice. It was
Okay,
really
I have
nice,
ginger
really
beer
nice.
here.
There you go.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
Kevin, for those that don't know, what is limoncello? What is the spirits basis and the production that goes into that?
You're asking me? I don't know.
I don't know either. I
It's
saw
lemon-
60 proof.
It's 60 proof. It is made straight from the lemons. It's not just lemon juice.
Okay.
And there are different. I know there are different varietals of lemon based upon the section of Italy.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
some have different flavors. Some have, like this one is supposed to be less bitter because of the seeds are smaller in the lemons that they use. So,
Interesting.
but
Okay.
it's a liqueur. It's a distilled spirit, and it's tasty.
Sure. Yeah, it's
And
delicious.
we wanted to honor the heritage of our guest by having
Sure.
something from the Italian side. So
I just didn't know if this was like, lemon juice and vodka kind of a thing, or if this was its own actual distinct category of spirits. I'm ignorant when it comes to things in the liqueur category.
You drink this like after dinner. This
Okay.
is a digestivo. So like
yes,
it's
Got it.
and then you drink it in the kind of glass he's drinking out of, usually like a little shot glass. And
Okay.
it's much better cold.
hmm
But that's why it's kind of like a little bit sweet, because it's like a end of the night kind of
Got it.
small sip drink.
All right. Very
Yep.
good to know.
I like it. Every time I've
Mhm.
had limoncello, I've enjoyed it. I know that when I was researching brands of limoncello, that this Il Tramonto was one of the higher rated brands, but it wasn't necessarily expensive. I know our friend Kelly Tennille that works over at Whiskey Thief Distilling. She's been making some limoncello herself. So
Interesting.
yeah, I need to get a hold of some of that, and we'll share that with Christina too. So, but that's limoncello. So we're going to sip on this for just a little bit, and while we're doing that, Christina, I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to tell people where they can find out more about you and what's going on.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should bring it up, because I just spent all day rolling up my merchandise. We're headed out on a 2-week tour to the Northeast, me and the band. And that's always really exciting. I've been doing a lot of solo shows this month, so having the band with me is really fun. And we're hitting, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, New York, Virginia, just a whole bunch of fun places. So the best way to sort of see what's up with all of that for live performance is my website, CristinaVane.com. And Instagram is the best way to sort of see what I'm all about, I think.
Awesome.
I'm on there the most.
There are some really really nice videos that you do, little impromptu. They seem impromptu anyway. Either solo songs that you may do with. Sometimes it may be a banjo, sometimes it may be with guitar, and sometimes you'll be playing along with some friends that may be on a fiddle or some other instrument. Those are really fun.
Thank you. Yeah.
How often do you do those?
It really depends. If I'm gone for a while, obviously, but I always did them, even just so like by myself. I think I started my Instagram for music in 2016, maybe 15.
Oh wow!
So it would just sort of be that vibe where I'm like, oh, here's me practicing, or here's something I learned today. If you go back far enough on my Instagram, it's like really terrible, actually.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I would just like turn the camera around and be like, this is what I'm doing. So it's all music. Like I don't include like my daily life or anything like that on my feed, but it's kind of second nature at this point to just be like, oh, if we're playing music anyway, we should get a video, you know?
Yeah. And I think you've done some things before where it's just, hey, I'm trying to work something out on guitar and we'll see what happens. And that's very, it kind of pulls back the curtain a little bit and lets people see what you're going through and what the process is that you go through to create a riff or create a song. And that, I think that's very interesting.
That's definitely, and I think for a lot of other musicians, it's really fun to watch that creative process play out in other people's world, so that you don't feel like the crazy one. It's like, oh, I can't learn this, or this idea is not coming, or whatever the case may be. Or then when it clicks, it's cool to see too.
Yeah, it's the camera is a good, you know, oh, here's where I was 2 weeks ago. Here's where I'm at.
Yeah. So you go back and watch those things sometimes?
Not often, but sometimes if I'm looking for like the name of a tune or how I played something and it's been a while, I'll scroll back and be like, oh wow, I can play it so much faster now.
It's very cool. So let's talk a little bit about how music became a part of your life, and we'll start with the question of, do you remember what the first album was that you ever got?
I don't. I think that it was I feel like one of the first albums that I really remember having and like spinning a bunch was Alanis Morissette, Jagged Little Pill.
Wow.
And then I came home with Blink-182's Enema of the State and Destiny's Child. I think it's Survivor or whatever the name of that album is.
Yep.
So, you know, a little all over the place.
Yeah.
But there was always music in our house. My parents aren't like musicians necessarily. My dad's very musical and he was a musician, but he's not like a professional musician. And my mom loves music, but she's definitely not a musician either. So we kind of just had music in the car, music in the house. Yeah. I got my cat.
Do you remember the first concert that you went to?
I believe that the first one I remember going to is B.B. King.
Oh, wow.
Or it was Rolling Stones.
That's two pretty great first concerts. Holy
cow.
Yeah, my parents loved Rolling Stones, so they took us when we were younger.
Very cool.
That is awesome. Wow. Now, when you were seeing them, were you in Europe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was in Milan, San Siro Stadium.
Oh, that's very cool. So at what point did you start playing music yourself?
I came into this world wanting to sing. I just started singing when I was a kid in the crib without any instruments. And then my parents started me on piano. They started all of us on piano around first grade. But I played like the recorder, and then I got into the flute in middle school pretty hard. That was like my favorite instrument. And I started playing guitar around that time. And it always just kind of lingered in the background there until, you know, it became my primary focus, I guess.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Now, did you take lessons on guitar, or were you self-taught?
I took 6 months of lessons, me and my brother, at this little music school in Italy. And then from then on, we were self-taught.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably fortunate to be a part of the YouTube generation where that all gets, like, you can learn everything for free in a 30-minute like video type thing, or were you just imitating other people?
I don't know. I never was the YouTube learner. I always was like an in-person kind of learner. In LA, I had a mentor who taught me how to play fingerstyle specifically. for like 2 years. And I do so much better when there's like a human being every week that's like, hey, where are you at with this stuff? You know?
That's awesome. Do you find that the piano background and flute background helps in guitar playing, or does it get a little bit muddy for you, like mentally?
I think that any experience with music is just going to help. You know, you just are a better musician the more stuff you've done, whether it's a different instrument or whatever. So I'm, you know, I don't really sit down and play keys or anything like that, but just it was all part of the journey sort of to get here.
Sure. Very cool.
Okay. Well, let's switch gears with what's in her glass just a little bit. And the other item that we're drinking tonight to kind of pay tribute to the other side of Christina's heritage is this Leiper's Fork Bottled and Bond bourbon. And Leiper's Fork is distilled in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just a little bit south of where Cristina is. So we'll take a little pour of this or drink right out of the bottle. I'll tell you what, I'm going to drink out of the bottle too, just so.
There we go.
Cheers. So we'll take a sip of this. Now, are you a bourbon girl, Cristina?
I'm not a bourbon girl. I just feel like that's a very bold statement. Like I'm a tequila girl. Like I feel confident saying like I'm a mezcal tequila girl. Bourbon. I can't think of a drink I don't like that has bourbon in it, but I'm sure there is one out there.
Sure.
I like bourbon. It's just probably my second choice.
Okay. That's all right.
Bourbon or whiskey. I don't know, but then good gin drink. I've come to appreciate those. So I guess everything has its place.
Yep.
Sure.
Well, this is, as I said, bottled and bond, so it's 100 proof. It is a mash bill of 70% corn, 15% wheat, and 15% malted barley. It is right at the required 4 years of age. So, Drew, what do you think?
Yeah, I would not have guessed that it was wheated. It has a really good baking spice kind of back into it, like the little bit of the nutmeggy kind of a thing on the finish.
What does wheated mean?
That means in order to be bourbon, it's got to be at least 51% corn, and then there'll be at least usually a one or two secondary grains. And a wheated means that the secondary grain is wheat as opposed to something like rye or oat. Typically, a bourbon would be either a secondary grain of rye or wheat, and this one happens to be wheat, which a lot of times will indicate a bit of a softer, softer taste to it, not nearly as spicy. I think this one's. I think the being 15% malted barley kind of gives it a little richness.
Yep.
And
it's creamy almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's almost like a breakfast cereal note to it, with the wheat and the barley working in there.
Yeah, I see that. It's really nice. I've not had any Leiper's Fork products that I did not like, but I had not tried their bonded, I don't believe. So this is a good showing from them. Really like the spice on the back end, but the front has that, like you said, kind of gentle, creamy texture. I've also had a fair amount of turkey rye today, so that may just be the contrast. Who knows?
Yeah, it's got some chocolate in it too. I just noticed. But yeah, I like it. I think they do a really good job with everything that they've done that I've had. So we can continue to take sips from glasses or bottles or whatever floats your boat while we talk a little bit more about Cristina and her music. So your first album, that at least I believe it was your first album, was the Old Played New. Is that correct?
No, actually. So that was sorry, whiskey. That was a pandemic venture that I did.
Oh, okay.
That's just me on the guitar by myself. My first full-length album is Nowhere Sounds Lovely.
Okay.
And I put that out in 2020. Yes.
Okay.
And then I put out Old Played New, I think, sometime after that, or maybe before. I can't actually remember when I put Old Played New out.
Okay.
But that's an EP that's like 6 songs and they're all covers. So that it's kind of like a blues tribute thing.
Yes.
And I put out Make Myself Me Again last year.
Yeah. So. You're playing songs from Son House and Blind Willie Johnson and really, really good. Really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. And then there was this Magnolia Sessions.
Yep, another pandemic.
That's kind of cool.
Adventure. That's under my friend Dan's tree, where there's all these cicadas, and he just records it live. It was a good experience.
That's cool.
It's kind of like the Marfa tapes that came out last year. Yeah, last year, where it's just start the recorder and you play, and whatever it is, right? There's no take 2 or anything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a real bad screw up, I could be like, hey, I want to do another take. So maybe it's not exactly like that, but it was fun.
Yeah. But this was fantastic.
Thank you.
I kind of got into it after the latest album, but this is really, really good. I mean, you've got some fantastic songs on here.
Thank you.
And one of them, the first one on there, I want to ask you a little bit about Blueberry Hill. The vocal range from low to high on that song, and then it shows up on Make Myself Me Again as well. It's extraordinary. Do you know what your range is, octave wise, low to high?
I have no idea. I feel like I'm an alto, so I know I go maybe lower than the average person. I would say depends on my health. If I'm smoking a lot, it doesn't really then my high end kind of can get lower. It just really depends where I'm at. But no, I haven't. I feel like I used to do that for like choir and stuff, like do the range, but I haven't done that in years. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, it is very impressive.
Thank you.
Because it starts out kind of low and then it gets kind of up there in the register. So that's really cool. Now, this album, if I remember correctly, I think that you shared this a little bit when I saw you live in Madison, Indiana, I guess last month. Yeah, last month. This album, I think you wrote a lot of these songs while you were traveling. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was. I did like a 6-month tour / journey across the United States, and played shows, and then just did a lot of camping and like discovering. So that was back in 2018, and then came to Nashville, recorded this album, and sat on it for like 2 years, and put it out during the pandemic.
Very good.
Is it a song about dreaming of Utah, and then there's Badlands. So you can almost chart your trip by the songs.
Totally. I mean, I should have actually done the songs chronologically. That would be funny. But there's a mention of somewhere in most of those songs.
Yeah. And I like the name of the album. I think there's a little wordplay going on there. You could say nowhere sounds lovely, meaning that there's not any place you could be that would sound good. Or it could also mean nowhere sounds lovely, meaning I just want to be no place and enjoy the solitude of it. Is that?
It's actually the second one.
Yeah.
Intended meaning.
Yeah. And traveling through the Badlands in Utah, there's a lot of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, it comes from a song on the record, the chorus of Traveling Blues is
Yeah.
onwards and upwards. This path leads to nowhere. Nowhere sounds lovely. Well, I'd sure like to go there. So, yeah, it's like exactly like a path to nowhere. Sounds great. Count me in.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the different instruments that you play.
I play guitar and banjo. I play a little bit of mandolin pretty badly, but guitar and banjo are basically it. And I play like slide guitar in an open tuning style with fingerstyle stuff, and then clawhammer banjo, which is kind of old time or frailing. Some people call it frailing, but that's basically it. And I sing.
What was your first encounter with a slide guitar that made you be like, hey, I want to do that? Because that's a pretty niche, lane for guitar stuff.
It's this guy called Sam Green from the UK. When I was in London playing a show, I stayed and watched a different band after my set. And he played like lap slide, and I just thought it was like the coolest thing. And I researched into it and was like, I don't really want to play on my lap, so I guess I'm just gonna play bottleneck, and kind of started there. And yeah, it was a journey.
Awesome. That's cool. As far as the tunings and things like that go, do you take a different guitar up for each tuning, or do you kind of redo things when you're playing live, or is it just a mix?
It just depends. I now travel with two guitars, so I can do a standard tune guitar and an open tune guitar. But even in open tunings, I sometimes use open D and sometimes it's open G. And like, there are just a lot of, if I could, I would have a guitar tech and like 4 guitars, including my baritone. But I don't. So I make it work.
It's awesome. And then as far as any kind of rig, do you have specific things that you do differently as a slide player than maybe somebody playing, solo lead would do? Is there anything that stands out in that lane for you?
Not really, because I play my resonator through a Mesa Boogie amp, and I feel like that actually throws people off more than, like, they expect it to be a DI, and I'm like, no, I have like a pedal board and an amp for my guitar. I just like the way it sounds, but yeah, so pretty classic. Just play through an amp with a pedal board.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we may need to connect you with our friend Chris Tapp from a band called the Cold Stairs, because he has recently become somewhat obsessed with resonator guitars and open tunings, but he plays them through an insanely stupid rig. It cracks me up every time I ask him or talk to him about what his rig is looking like. So we'll have to connect you guys. I'm sure you could go deep in the water there.
Yeah. Rig talk, rig rundown.
Is there an instrument that is your favorite to play?
I think singing is my favorite.
Well, you certainly have the. To me, when I listen to your albums, it's okay. What stands out the most? Is it the songwriting, which I think is very clever and very natural, or is it the musical aspect of it, whether you're playing guitar or you're playing banjo or whatever the case may be, or is it the vocals? And I think you could, if it was a 3-sided coin, I think you could flip it, and any one of the 3 would be the standout, depending on when you're listening and what you're in the mood for.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, try and stay on top of all of it, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to just briefly ask about, your evolution as an artist, because obviously you are so strong as a vocalist and as a writer and as a player. But when I've heard your most recent 2 records in particular, I can tell that you're not a copycat of any other artist, but you do have like influences that you respect and pay homage to, and things like that. So what was that process like for you in going from, I love this individual or this musician or artist to I'm going to synthesize that into my own thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I guess it's like an ongoing process that has taken years, because at any given point you you're working with the tools in your tool belt, but ideally you're also learning new tools. And so for like a while I was writing music and I'm proud of the songs I wrote, but I didn't really know how to play slide very well, and I didn't have like any fingerstyle. And when I first learned how to play fingerstyle guitar, I did not think it was going to be part of my original music, and now I play so many songs with that picking style. So like I think it's just kind of absorbing a bunch of different stuff and then seeing what really grabs my attention and being like, I want to have a song with that in it, or I want a song with a country feel, or like yeah. And I just follow my mood, I guess, and I'm like, oh, this is the kind of song that came to me, and I hear it with this in there. So
very cool.
Just like different tools out of a toolbox, I guess.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And then are you a lyrics first person, excuse me? Are you have a riff or an idea? Do you have a vibe first and then kind of see what comes out? Like, what does that process look like for you?
I've done it both ways, but almost always I prefer to write the music first and then the lyrics after.
All right. Yeah, that's so interesting. I think a lot of people that we talked about or talked to previously on the show, that answer just falls in all kinds of spectrums. Sometimes it's like, if I've had 3 drinks of whiskey, I'm a vibe first person and I write this riff and then I'll write lyrics tomorrow. Some people sit down and write for like an hour a day, no matter what comes out, and then they just try to fit it in. I hate those people. They make me feel lazy, but that it's interesting just to ask other musicians, their answer on things like that, because the process seems different for everybody.
Totally. Yeah. I usually write music first, though.
Very cool. Very cool.
Let's talk a little bit about this album, which came out almost a year ago today as we're recording this. So we have a phrase that we use on the show, no skips, no misses, meaning it's an album that there's not a dud in it. There's not, well, I've got to have one more song to make it work. And, there's some throwaway in there. It's just not the case with this. And I was going through and I thought, okay, I want to talk about a few songs specifically. Which ones do I like the best? And I just kept writing down song titles. But there's really something in this album for everybody. It's very easy to listen to. It's very fun to listen to. And again, you can focus on the lyrics, you can focus on the vocals, you can focus on the instrumentation and get something different out of it every time you listen. It's very fresh. From the first time I heard it, I thought this is something that's different. It's unique, and I want to hear it again. And it's very, and it stays fresh after multiple listens. Sometimes, well, I really like this album, and you listen to it 3 times, and you're like, okay, I think I'm done with this for a while. That's not the case here. So talk about kind of the themes that you were trying to incorporate into this album.
So, I mean, I think everyone's different, and maybe some people have like a grand vision for a thematic approach to like albums, just like you would, a photography exhibit or like any thesis in an art context. But I view albums more like a chronological snapshot of sort of what's been coming out creatively for that time, right? Since I put out my last one, what have I been writing, essentially? So I changed the instrumentation up a little bit and didn't have any dobro on there, but instead had like harmonica, and I had some more rocked out kind of hill country stuff and just like 90s sounding rock stuff, which I have on all of my albums. I've always been like a blues kid a rock kid at heart, really, from just the time I grew up and what I listened to. But there's just a little less fluff on the second album, I guess. A little less like of other stuff. And obviously always some banjo songs too.
Do you have a favorite song on the album?
No, I can't answer that in good conscience. I have no idea.
Is there one that's more fun to do live?
Small Town Nashville Blues is really fun to play live. I play it like pretty fast.
Yep.
And everybody gets solo. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, that was actually the first song of yours that I listened to. Kevin sent me the album a couple months back, probably when we were first talking about, having you on or whatever. I was like, oh, that song was just Call My Name, just track list wise. So it's a great tune. It's a great tune.
Thank you.
Now, as you play the songs live, once you've written them, do they evolve on stage, or by the time you're ready to play them live, are they pretty much a set arrangement? The band's tight on it, that kind of a thing.
No, I usually don't have a set list, so I'm not sure if that's what you're asking exactly, but I basically just get up there and like call them out.
Nice. Yeah. And then as you've developed a song, do you see it change once you start playing it live, or is it set before you'll let it show up on stage?
It'll change sometimes, but I mean, only because I probably played it solo for a long time and we'd have to work it out with the band.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Are the guys that you tour with, are they the ones that played on the album, or are they different guys?
Different people.
Mm-hmm. Have you played with the band? Because when I saw you, you were with the band. Have you played with them for a while, or are they new?
We started playing together last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, relatively new, but also not that new, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you said earlier you're getting ready to go up and play in New England. Are those band shows with the band, or are those solo shows?
Those are shows with the band.
Okay, cool. Great.
Very good.
Yeah. So let's talk about just a couple of the songs on the album. One that I really like is Little Black Cloud. I think it's kind of has a Rolling Stones Exile on Main Street vibe to it. So talk to us a little bit about that song and kind of what went into the writing and the production of it.
That song is inspired by like Junior Kimbrough and Arnold Burnside and the Hill Country blues scene. So I came up with that riff and just that was like the feel immediately, and wanted it to sound kind of like those old recordings and with that old gear. So we did a live tracking with all the doors open of that song. And it was just really fun. And I guess the subject is vaguely like depression or like, just trying to get the little black cloud to stop following you around. But it's really more of like a vibe than anything, which I think some of the hill country music is cool because it is vaguely about something, but then it's really the groove that gets you.
Yeah. Yes, it has a great groove to it. Absolutely it does. Another one is Sometimes Baby. I like the line, hard times they come and go, your intentions will someday show, as sure as rain falls and windows blow, you can't get away from yourself. So that kind of fits in. I know you said wasn't a conscious theme necessarily in the album, but that kind of fits in the theme of the title track of figuring out who you are, and you're kind of stuck with yourself, right?
Totally. And I think that's like a never-ending struggle, but it's one that like is very apparent in this album and the years that I wrote it during,
So what do you have that's coming up next? What are you working on now? When will we see a new album?
I don't know. That it just takes a while. So I'm thinking of ideally putting it out like next spring.
Okay.
Would be probably when, just to have all my ducks in a row properly and write as much as I want to write and get like the bangers. But so I'm just touring this summer and trying to like save up the money, really, I guess.
Yeah.
Hear that.
Do you self-produce your stuff? or do you have you work with producers? Do you work with a label?
Yeah, I don't self-produce. I mean, I like am a co-producer on the last one with the two producers, but I have someone to do all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
Kind
work.
of takes some pressure off. Yeah. Now, are you with a label?
No.
Everything you do is self-generated, because
a label owns for 5 years, well, so like 3 now, probably 2 of my records, but I'm an independent artist. Like I'm not signed to them.
Okay.
It's like a distribution deal.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Yeah. What's that like? Because, I think so much gets tied up in having label representation and, the perks that come with that. But what are the things that are challenges or benefits to you as an independent artist that have made that the path for you?
I think that it just depends on the label, which sounds like obvious, but if it's the right label with the right connections and the right people motivated to kind of help you succeed, that's a huge help. And I think that's why people want that.
Sure.
But there's a lot of room to succeed without labels if you are crafty, I guess.
Sure. Now, what does that look like? Because I'm pretty ignorant, of the music business as a whole, as evidenced by my personal music career. So, if you were to say what you spend the majority of your time on, is there promoting agencies that you're connecting with? Is it a social media driven thing? Are you booking your own gigs? How does that look for you when you're trying to pursue that?
Well, it looks different for everybody, but for me personally, I have a booking agent. I just spent all day, for example, rolling up t-shirts and labeling merch and like packing my merch bin. I have to make my own promotional flyers. I have to post, so I do my own social media. I update my own website, which I also built. I order my merch. I design my merch. I have an artist then make it into pretty stuff that looks okay. I also have to pay up front for the cost of the merch. I then have to bring it with me, hire a band, have accommodation, tour manage us, and drive us around. So I also sell my merch. So
that's insane. Well, so this is what I want to get across to people who may not know, because we don't often get to have independent musicians on, but we're talking graphic designer, web developer, graphic artist, tour manager, chauffeur, booking agent. You're doing so much in addition to writing and performing these songs to make this worth your time, at least career wise.
Yeah, totally.
That's incredible.
So as soon as you start to get any help in any department, it's usually welcome. If a booking agent, that's just one less thing I have to do. Eventually a tour manager, someone to drive you places or sell the merch. It's just one less thing to do when you're already kind of tired. And yeah.
If I remember correctly, right before the show I saw you at in Madison, Indiana, you had a van breakdown in, I think, Alabama. Is that right? Georgia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
no fun.
You had to cancel a couple of dates or something like that.
I ended up canceling one date in Louisville, and I was stuck in Georgia for 3 days on top of the day I was supposed to go home. So it was just really unpleasant. But I also have to be a mechanic.
Well, add that to the resume.
Yeah. I mean, I did not change a spark plug, so it's not going to happen.
You're in good company there. I couldn't do anything on mine. So,
well, this show will come out in a couple of weeks, so you'll probably be done with the tour up north. But I think you've got some shows coming up in June, and in July you're going out west.
Yes, and Washington too.
Oh, okay, awesome.
They're not on my website yet, but yeah, that's all stuff that's happening. I'm excited.
Yeah,
awesome,
good stuff. So if you're in Tennessee or Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, West Virginia, again back up in Ohio, home in Nashville for Cristina, just be sure to check that out. And you can obviously go to her website, CristinaVane.com, follow her on Instagram, and get all that news, keep up with what she's got going. So, all right.
Thank
Christina,
you.
where do you know the venue that you're playing at in Morgantown, West Virginia? Because I will be in West Virginia on that date.
So I believe it's called Pleasant Street.
Okay.
Hold on. We're just gonna go to my handy dandy schedule and see. So 123 Pleasant Street. Pretty close.
All right. Sweet.
And that's with Wilson Springs Hotel, who are a great band. So
Awesome.
yeah, should be good.
Well, I might have the opportunity to make it to that one, so that'll be cool.
Sweet. Yeah, well, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Say hello.
I may or may not have a backpack full of whiskey to share with you and whoever's with you.
Or
so we can figure something
limoncello.
out.
If it's limoncello, that's even better.
Or tequila.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some tequila for you.
When the next album comes out and we have Cristina on again, we will have tequila. So that'll be good. All right. Well, we'll start wrapping things up here, Cristina. And again, want to give you an opportunity. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and websites and all that good stuff.
It's at Cristina with no H, Cristina, Vane, like a weather vane. Music is pretty much everything, like Facebook, TikTok, even though I don't post there anymore. I just deleted the app. And you can buy all my merch on my Bandcamp or at my website. And my website is like where you can get all the info, links to everything.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. All right, Drew, where can folks find you?
Yep. You can find me on Instagram at drew.crawley63. I'm trying to keep up with posting live dates and things like that on there. You can also go to drewcrawleymusic.com for official listings and things like that. I may not update that with all the things that come up last minute. And then if you're in the Louisville area when this show airs on June the 6th, we will be opening for our friend Sweet Lady while they're doing a date for their Trace Hombres ZZ Top tribute. Yeah. So that'll be at 21st Amendment here in Germantown. I think you'll have 2 or 3 days to get a ticket for that by the time the show comes out.
Yeah. Is it the 6th or is it the 3rd? I think it's the 3rd.
I'm sorry, June the 3rd. Yes. I said that wrong.
Yeah, June 3rd. We'll have our friend Sweet Lady and Drew on the same stage. It will be fantastic. So make sure you make it. If you're in the area, go to see it. If you're not in the area, get in the area because it'll be fantastic. As for our show, you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast platform as long as it's Apple, Spotify, or Google. We have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows. We have a Facebook group where we ask you to post the things that you're listening to. If you're listening to Cristina Vane, let us know. We'll make sure that she knows that you're listening to it as well. If you're drinking something different, if you're drinking some limoncello and listening to Cristina Vane, post it on the Facebook group. All right. And let everybody know what's happening there. So we really have enjoyed having you with us, Cristina.
Thank you.
And it's been a real blast. Drew, our next show, man, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
So Steve Gorman, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're having Steve back on, so that'll be a good time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the 45th anniversary of the Rolling Stones' Some Girls album. So that will be a lot of fun. And spending some time with Steve, hearing what he's got going on. He's got a new band. You know, he was in the Black Crowes, and now, he starts another band called Trigger Hippie, and now he's got another band called Bagmen, and he's now a morning DJ in Minneapolis, of all places. So it'll be fun to catch up with Steve as well. So again, Cristina, thank you very much for being with us. It's been a lot of fun to talk to you. In all sincerity, fantastic work. I look forward to hearing what you have coming up next and hopefully seeing you again live before too long.
Well, thanks. This was really fun. I drank all my limoncello, so.
Good. Well, again, I was like, next time it's tequila, but until next time on our show, on behalf of Cristina and Drew and myself, Cheers, love, and free bird.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.